Hello all you Laystone loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic and today we're going to be reviewing the new Total War Warhammer DLC, Realm of the Wood Elves, developed and published by Creative Assembly and SEGA respectively. Now we've had an up and down ride with DLC from SEGA when it comes to Total War games, and Total War Warhammer is no exception to that rule. We've had everything from the Great Grim and Grave and Call of Beastmen DLCs to the not so great Charging for Blood special effects, which was an absolute travesty. Realm of the Wood Elves, however, is one that I have been looking forward to as a long-time player of the Elves and of the Eldar in the Warhammer Fantasy and 40k tabletop games. The DLC brings not only the Elven race to the old world, but adds 2 playable sub-factions, 2 legendary lords, and a multitude of new units. Similar to the Call of the Beastmen DLC, Realm of the Wood Elves allows you to play the new race in the Grand Campaign, but also has its own separate story campaign on a more focused but still large map. You can choose to play as the Wood Elves under the King in the Woods Orion, or play as Arthur Loren under the Eldar Spirit Durthu. Both legendary lords are pretty kick-ass, and while I do love the Master of the Wild Hunt Orion with his long-range spears and his various magical abilities, nothing quite beats being a giant tree man with a kick-ass sword. That kind of just never gets old. As with all other factions in Total War Warhammer, the Wood Elves have their own unique playstyles. Theirs is the new racial resource, Amber, and its focus around the Tree of Ages. Wood Elves have the Tree of Ages, which they must protect, and works very much like a settlement without the ability to have extra buildings. Should an enemy destroy the tree, the elves die and it's game over for you, so it doesn't matter how powerful your armies are and you're maybe off conquering the Empire in the Grand Campaign. If some massive orc horde swings around the back and destroys your Tree of Ages, your game is over. Amber is used to upgrade the tree and to make it not only more defensible, but also to have factional buffs. Amber is acquired by occupying settlements or as a tribute from vassals or military allies. Amber is also used to recruitment of elite units and can be used to unlock some of the technologies on the tech tree. Amber is used as a currency alongside regular gold. However, acquiring a negative balance of Amber will place factional penalties against you. Now, Amber, like I said, is acquired by occupying settlements. What's different about the Wood Elves is the fact that they can occupy and take over any settlement on the map and are the only faction thus far with the ability to do so, which means they can take over dwarven carracks, human settlements, orc settlements, chaos settlements. It doesn't matter, you can take over anything. However, there is a catch. You can only use settlements within the woodland realms as actual settlements. Anything that is taken over that is not in the woodland realm will act as an outpost. So you can build an outpost on that settlement and you can build one building on there and then that is it. So it will obviously acquire Amber for you and it will have some sort of effect with the building that you choose to build. However, it's not upgradable like a normal settlement. But enough about campaign gameplay, let's get to the good stuff, which is of course combat and the various units. Now, the Wood Elves have added a whole entire roster of unique units, all of which I absolutely love. From the Glade Guard, who are fearsome ranged opponents, to the giant enormous tree men who will stomp the enemy into the ground. The Wood Elves have their own unique combat playstyle. Their army roster consists of many ranged units and some melee units. For me personally, I think that they are a race that is a lot of fun to play. They tend to be quite fast paced. Their mounted cavalry units on deer are fantastic. They have a lot of very powerful ranged infantry, and it's something that can be buffed with various technologies and various legendary lord abilities, so that once you are in the mid game you can actually have a force that is pretty terrifying when it comes to ranged warfare. And if you play the game where it's about ambushing and waiting for the enemy to attack you, it becomes very much a case of that your ranged infantry are that powerful that when the enemy is trying to get across the map towards your units, you can whittle down their numbers very, very easily before they even engage in melee combat. Now, the Wood Elves certainly have some very powerful units. The Tree Men, for example, the monstrous infantry that they have are all fantastic. They have some pretty powerful ranged units. They have some pretty powerful melee units, and their flying cavalry, which is the Eagle Riders, which use melee and ranged, they're okay. I think they're a little bit underpowered when you compare them to that of the Griffin Knights, but they do their job and their purpose for the most part. That being said, however, the Wood Elves are not exactly invulnerable, and they do struggle when it comes to heavily armoured units, especially if you go up against a force like that can be the case in the Empire or versing Bretonnia, where they have a lot of heavily armoured cavalry units, and you have a force that's very primarily focused on, you know, using the Wood Elves' ranged abilities to your advantage. It becomes a case of that an army that is stacked up with heavily armoured cavalry can often trounce your archers and take away any advantage. It's very much a case in any battle where as soon as you have your archers engaged in melee combat, the game and the battle can be over for the most part without the use of some very clever tactics. As races go, however, the Wood Elves in terms of combat have a fun, fast-paced style of combat with lots of units that look fantastic and play fantastic. In comparison to that, they have a slower campaign playstyle due to the implementation of the Amber economy and the way that each Wood Elf starts off in terms of the campaign. It can lead to having a slow start, and it can be somewhat difficult on the harder difficulties to really get going in any shape or form. That all being said, however, I absolutely love the Wood Elves faction. I think that the campaign gameplay is absolutely great, even though it is slightly slower paced and can cause a few issues here and there. I do love the uniqueness of it, and when it comes to the combat, I love the fun, fast-paced nature of the Wood Elves combat style. I also love that it's often high risk, high reward for your tactics, that, you know, when you go focus so much on a ranged infantry unit, that, you know, that comes with its own risks and you can pay the price dearly, and I love that element to it. I think they've been implemented really well. I would like to see more of them, and I think that this is one Total War Warhammer DLC that is certainly worth picking up. The DLC is at a hefty price tag of $20. For me, it is worth it in the sense of the enjoyment that I got out of it. I'm going to get hours and hours and hours and hours of campaign gameplay from the realm of the Wood Elves, so for me $20 isn't a problem. However, I still think it is a little pricey for DLC, and I would have much rather seen it at a price point of around $10 to $15, and I think that would have been certainly more agreeable to most folks. Will you get the gameplay out of it to make the money worthwhile? Sure. Certainly, you know, not only do you have a separate story campaign for the Wood Elves, but you can take them into the grand campaign and get another 30 to 70 hours out of it easily. So it's not like it's not going to be worth the time or the investment or the money, but it is a case of, as a standard practice, I certainly would like to see Sega set their DLCs at a lower price of around $10 to $15. And that is my Realm of the Wood Elves Total War Warhammer DLC review. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, share the video around. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game in the comments section below. And as always, I will see you next time.